Welcome to Sweeping the Country, where we tackle sometimes the fun stuff and then sometimes the not-so-fun stuff. Hey, Jimmy, how are you?
Hey, we're now in February. I used to misspell that before spell check.
Well,
I'm sure I misspelled February.
That R doesn't belong there. I don't know why it's there.
It's not there, so there you are. But yeah, the January was to some people very long, and I don't know. It was a weird month all the way around. But February gets busy, and
Yeah.
man, you don't forget you got Valentine's Day coming up, and for you guys particularly, that will bite you on the butt if you don't go ahead and deal with it. Roses are, as usual, expensive this year. They're always expensive,
Yeah,
but
no
I think
kidding.
they're more so maybe this year. But anyway, I don't even know where to. I know where to go. This is where I am. I feel like I'm at a crossroads today.
Okay.
Because I don't know whether to go light and talk about Grammys and Oscars and that Dolly Parton, her Dollywood is made by National Geographic, one of the best of the world.
Really? Really?
So that's kind of nice.
Yeah.
Or do you go in the other part that, and it's what no one wants to talk about, is how the country is being torn apart in 1,000 different paper cuts.
That's a good way to put it. I was going to think
It's 1,000 different paper cuts.
I agree with you. It feels like a meat grinder. It's just in so many different pieces now.
It started, this recently in Congress, you had Zuckerberg up there, and there was a lot of, congressional smoke coming out the window.
Indeed.
About how mad they are at Facebook for not protecting young people. They went after the TikTok man, claimed he's Chinese, and they're, up to no good with all that stuff. And what I don't understand, why are they just now getting to this?
I agree.
It's been open season on kids since the internet got beyond the AOL, that stuff.
Yeah, we can even go back.
Into any kind of speed on the internet. You've never had any censoring. No one's ever thought that you should. You can censor library books in the library, but online you can do anything. It's beyond your imagination.
Well, and it's funny too.
All the subjects, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's funny that they focus so heavily now on the phone manufacturers and the service providers for phones, when you can use a laptop, you can use a desktop, you can use somebody else's computer that doesn't have a parental lock. You can figure out how to take the parental lock off. These kids are not stupid. They're smart kids. They're going to figure that out. But yeah, we're behind the 8 ball. I remember, and this is going back before internet. Remember when there was a cigarette company? I won't say the company, but they had an animal had a hump on its back, and it was marketed, and they said they were marketing to kids. Remember that? It was like there was some commercial thing they did, and that's been going on forever. The thing with the internet is it's a wide open new world where they can market to kids in 500 million different ways, and I don't think anybody ever thought that through when this whole thing started. So now they're playing catch up.
Yeah, and again, I remember as a youth that there used to be drive-in movie theaters.
Oh, yeah, those are great.
And some drive-in movie theaters ran, I don't know what you call the movies. They were at the time porno movies, but they were nothing like
they are today.
Porno is today, which is just, you can't even imagine what they're doing.
Right.
Back then it was pretty straight meat and potatoes, stuff that people would see. And you didn't even see that much then, as it turns out, what was considered to be pornographic,
That's true.
So they went after the manufacturers of that stuff instead of, and not so much the drive-in theater, which exposed it, but there was an element of that. I don't know what you do with the internet. Again, you've got books that people are worried about kids are reading books.
Yeah.
But there's every book that's out there is probably on the internet too, in some shape or form.
I would agree with that. And at some point, don't the parents have to be part of that?
The parents do. Parents are parents. It's like mine, and I see it in other people.
Yeah.
It's either on or off.
Yeah.
You either don't have access to a computer, or you do. And there doesn't seem to be anything in between, because the manufacturers of the software and all that, they don't put a lot of guardrails on that.
Yeah.
And that's what they're asking people to create, is that, okay, this computer in our home is open to anybody who has a password. And once you get past the password, you can go to any of the anything.
It's
You
unlimited.
can go
Yeah.
to anything.
Well, and I think until
So
now,
should you be able to do that, if you have kids, I mean, that's just, it makes my head spin around, because there's so many other things, I'm worried about. I mean, I know that some of that stuff is bad.
Yeah, I agree.
General, but I'm worried about the hoochie people over in in the Middle East shooting at our battleships and boats in the water, that we're going to get into a world war, because of some religious extremists in the Middle East. That's much more concerning to me.
Yeah,
And I'm more confused about the war in Ukraine than I've ever been. I mean, is it important or is it not?
yeah.
I don't know. I can't get a straight answer on that. One minute it's just like we're going to fall apart if we don't get involved over there. All right, so we were, and now I don't hear anything about it. I don't see anybody on their knees praying.
Right.
That I just don't understand where that is. And then I hear the head of the FBI telling us that the Chinese hackers are getting ready to come in and rape our infrastructure. I mean, it's
which
going
is
to be
believable.
bad.
Is
It's going to be
believable.
really bad.
It is bad. And part of this, I look at, you're talking about Ukraine. I mean, there's Iran, there's Iraq, there's Syria now, there's the Houthis, there's
Hamas, Israel. Just put it all in the pot.
The border security and how many possible terrorists are here in the United States, and what countries are they from?
People, they just stipulated that, that 1% of whatever's coming in are probably really bad people in some regard.
Part of me feels like it's an information overload. It's almost like somebody took a flow chart of some kind or a schematic and said, and maybe it's AI and maybe it's ChatGPT or one of those, that somebody said, how do we bust America up into tiny pieces so it cannot operate anymore like it has for the last 100 years, whatever. It almost feels like that. There's such an overload of stuff coming at us at one time.
There is that, but even strip it down.
Yeah.
I was watching the documentary Ken Burns did on Ben Franklin.
Yeah, okay.
And it's very good. And even when you look at World War II, when you look at these Masters of the Air,
I saw that
series on Apple, it's fantastic.
Is it
by
good?
the way.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it's really, really good. Is that you wonder, even the Revolutionary War, Ben Franklin was in France a lot of the time.
Yeah.
How are we getting information from what was going on in Concord, Mass, or going on in Baltimore while he's over in? They don't have phones. They don't have
how
satellite.
did they communicate?
They don't have even carrier pigeon in that distance, but they were keeping up with how the war was going on. So somehow, life goes on with or without our technology. And it's not the technology that's doing it. I mean, during World War II, think about it.
Yeah.
We had troops everywhere from Guadalcanal to Gaza.
Okay.
We had them everywhere.
Yeah.
In Germany, we had them everywhere. And they didn't even have any mass communication then. I think they had telegraph, but I'm not sure how they did that with no telegraph lines, across the ocean and stuff like that. So I don't know. It's all confusing to me about how we're all doing this, but it's just unfortunate. I think we have become politically unstable, that we've always had crooked politicians. We've always had captains of industry that are, maybe not John D. Rockefeller, some of those people.
Yeah,
shaky.
Yeah, I get you.
Some of these really rich people have been shaky for a long time because they're, gathering up what they do. And that's been there since Europe or anybody else, fiefdoms that were created. But, you just wonder, what can anybody do about anything? You feel so helpless. You watch Congress, and they're up there blowing smoke. Like, for example, this Homeland Secretary guy.
Yeah.
I don't know how he's operating, or I don't think he's a rogue person. The White House props him up. He's a cabinet member. They're telling him what to do.
Sure,
he's just taking the heat.
Yeah.
He's just the one that's decided, hey, I'm a great soldier. I'm going to take the heat.
Yeah.
So they want to impeach him. They have spent God knows how many millions of our dollars going after this guy to impeach him.
Millions.
Okay, maybe he deserves it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, millions of dollars, and then it's going to go over to the Senate. It ain't going nowhere. This was totally a waste of time.
Yeah, I agree with you.
A complete waste of time, and it's just political theater. We're so much into political theater on both sides.
But are we
the theater of incompetence?
Yeah.
The theater of ineptitude. Just mostly bad actors. We're filled with bad actors.
And what happens to bad actors in a film, to the people watching the film, is they don't want to watch the film anymore. I'm tired of watching the film. I am. I want somebody in there who's doing something, who's doing the right thing, who's making tough decisions. And if you make a few mistakes, so what? But for the most part, make the tough decisions and get the bad actors out of there. I don't need to watch this anymore. I want to see them. We had to wait how many days? 3 days for Biden to come up with a response for the drone attack? They should already know.
Where we have a Secretary of Defense that's in the hospital that nobody even knows he's there. He's not even missed. We've got half the Navy over the Mediterranean Sea.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the craziest thing. And it's not just the Democrats.
No.
I would for
say
the incompetence of the Republicans.
Yeah.
But you got to have. It's just. I don't know I don't know if you just grab these people and shake them or what. But it's just we're in an election year and we've got to decide. And man. You just got judges that are dealing with all these trials that these far left-leaning people have put out there. Is Trump guilty of some of this stuff? Probably.
Who knows? Who knows?
But these trials feel like they are politically motivated. Whether they are or not, I'll just say they feel like they are.
I would think that we're kind of silly if we don't think they are. And I'm talking about both sides. I'm talking about the impeachment of Mayorkas, or like you're talking about this trial where the two were seeing each other behind the scenes and going on these trips and doing all this stuff. I mean, all of that stuff.
I mean, look at just where we are today on some of these issues, like the death penalty.
Yeah.
How do you take, people don't even believe there's tremendous problems with this, just the subject of it, because people disagree about the death penalty so much. They don't believe in it or whatever.
Yeah, some do.
And
some
if
don't.
a guy walks up and shoots I don't know, in front of 100 people, a guy walks up and chops somebody's head off, and 100 people saw it, you think that pretty swift and sure trial should take place.
Sure.
And this person gets justice and he gets hung or he gets whatever.
Right.
I mean, that's what we used to do. And did they make mistakes with that sometimes?
Yeah, they did.
But somehow we got by. Now we don't want to seem to, there are people that so obviously don't need to be walking the planet anymore. And that we've made certain things, we spend so much money tying up our courts and our prisons with people that obviously need to go away.
Millions and millions of dollars.
People do not want, for some people, obviously, it's not on a vox populi thing where you can decide where somebody needs the death penalty. But I mean, these people, there are two people that kidnapped this child near where I am, and they found the body in a dumpster. And it's quite, I mean, everything. It's not like, well, did they just have the fiber and they connected him? I mean, they connected him.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no doubt, because I don't think anyone should be put to death. This is where I get a little liberal. I don't think anyone should be put to death unless they are absolutely, I mean, there ain't no doubt that these people did it.
I would
like Lee Harvey Oswald,
I
don't think it was ever proven that he did it. I don't know that he could have been, under my rules, been given the death penalty. But Jeffrey Dahmer, people like that, Teddy Bundy.
Oh yeah,
I mean, we got
a guy here.
They'd be gone before the end of the day.
So listen to this. We got a guy here, and it doesn't matter where, but we have a guy here on death row. He has had a stay of execution 11 times. He's got a date now for February something, 28th or something like that. This is his 12th date to be put to death, right?
See, that's all crazy, how long it takes them to set these dates and, and how many times do you get your trial heard?
I agree, but listen,
how many times,
Jimmy, this guy has not only said he's killed a bunch more people than they've convicted him of. He said, I killed all these people. Not only that, he killed somebody while he was in prison, so they know he did it. So, I mean, he's just sitting there. And no,
I mean, what is wrong with us
I
that
don't
we
know.
can't?
I don't know.
Yeah, there have been black people that have been put to death that were not guilty. There have been white people that have been put to death not guilty. There's all kinds of atrocities. There have been all kinds of exceptions.
That's
I mean,
true.
no doubt, people make mistakes. People have made bad mistakes.
Yes.
And you sure can't. You don't get to do that. But there are some of the most obvious things that just go on, and but no one. You don't hear anybody talk about this. One of the big things in this country that's screwed up is our court system.
Yeah.
The criminal courts are screwed up because take so long. We've allowed the appeal process and some of this other stuff just to go haywire.
Oh yeah.
How long do these people can delay and put off? And they're smart people, so they know how to play the system.
Yeah.
And they're ahead of the legislatures in making the laws. That are what the judges go by are the laws that are passed by the legislative branch. They don't just come up with this stuff.
That's right.
They're dealing with the law, and we've just allowed the whole system just needs to get flushed and redone.
Yeah, and I don't think you're just talking
civil. I mean, what a joke that is.
Yeah, we're not talking.
If you really wanted to sue somebody and you deserve to sue somebody, getting to trial, not to mention that it's out of the realm of the common man to be able to even afford it. But the fact that you won't even get a trial for years in some cases.
Yeah, it's insane. And when you talk about that,
and you don't hear anybody talking about that.
You don't. I mean, tort law has been a problem for years and years and years. Criminal, civil, all of it. It's all a problem. And you're coming from a spot, for those that don't know, where your dad was a judge. I mean, there's always been a backup. But you've got I'm just talking about the hypocrisy of both sides, Democrats and Republicans. Yeah.
I believe Democrats and Republicans both want law and order. They say they do. They say that they believe in law and order. They just want it fair. They want justice to be like the scales of justice to be equal, like they purport to be. Okay, I'm stipulating all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But come on. I mean, I don't care that Billy Bob, was from a bad family and all that stuff. He killed somebody. He killed a child. He did horrible things. It was explained to me as a child, and I'm sure, and I've never had a liberal person scald me for this, but I'll take my scalding if you wanted to.
Yeah, go.
I was someone was questioning about the death penalty, and it's not right, saying that for the government, let's just use it that way, for the government to take a life from somebody.
Okay.
Well, it was explained to me that, is this true or false? If a dog is rabid and biting people and very sick, rabid means they're sick. If they're biting people, hurting people, and sick themselves, and they can't be cured, what do you do with that animal?
Yeah, I mean, that's plain as day. Yeah.
You put them to sleep. You put them down.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you do to a person that is acting like an animal, like a wild rabid animal? What do you do to them? You put them to sleep. So that's a children's way of trying to understand why you have to take somebody's life and put them down, because they're not able to. They're bad people. They're doing bad things in society, and you're not safe around those people.
Mm-hmm. I can't argue with that at all. I mean, even if I tried to argue with that, I don't come from a spot where I could. I mean, I always think about the victim's family, right?
That's the last thing people
they don't. Nobody thinks about that. They lost someone. They lost two people. They lost two kids. They lost an entire family. They lost whatever they lost. Yet the person who did it is continuing to walk around, and we're arguing over their life like it's something that means something. So I'm not saying it doesn't to someone. Their life means something to someone. But to the family of the victims, I always find it strange when they come out and they say, no, we don't want them put to death. The family. We just want them to live out their,
because their religion has gotten to them,
maybe,
and said, it's not right to do, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it depends on whether you're a subscriber of the Old or the New Testament. There was plenty of justice in the Old Testament.
There was plenty.
But
yes.
see, these are things. Let's stop this discussion right here because we could go on forever with it.
Yeah, we could.
But this is the kind of stuff I want to see discussed in the world.
Yeah, I do
I don't
too.
want to see us discussing
But do you know
whether Majorca or whatever the hell his name is,
Mayorkas.
is freelancing or whatever. I don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't care. Obviously, the border is just a huge mess.
Well,
where is there an example of anywhere in the world that just lets people into their country? There is no example. And they say 5,000 a day, was what they've been negotiating about. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
We need 0 people a day. We need to have the people that come into this country that are needed to come into this country, that have been sought after. Like right now, there are people I believe in India, for example, and some other places that are very smart people that businesses in America have wanted to bring over here, and they can't because of immigration rules and immigration law.
Yeah.
But we'll let every Tom, Dick, and Harry and Sergio and everybody else come in. Just come in down there.
Here's what I want, and I hate to duplicate this saying because I just don't. But I want people who want to be here, and I want people that want to make it a better place to be. I don't want people to come and say, "Hey, well, in our country, we don't respect the police because they're a bunch of criminals in our country, so we don't respect them." There was a cop that got beat down today or yesterday in New York. Yeah,
and
that's
a bunch of crap.
It is a bunch of crap.
Really
I agree. I agree.
And I'm sure that's not a good example, maybe, or maybe it is. Because again, I'm sure a lot of these, tremendous majority of these people are just poor people that want a better life, that had that America's here, the land of opportunity, the land of milk and honey, and they see that. But unfortunately, some bad. But that's why you have immigration, to check these people out. We do need people to do certain things.
Sure.
That other people don't want to do. And that's just how it's always been. But you want to have people that, and where are we going with AI, for example? I'm jumping around on purpose, actually.
No, but
this
I
AI
like
stuff is coming in.
Yeah.
And I think, what did it say? There's so many, I'm seeing it everywhere. Microsoft laying off, they're firing or whatever. 1,000 people here, 300 here.
Yeah.
All these things. This
UPS.
The hammer is starting to fall. UPS, what'd they do?
12,000. 12,000.
Yeah. All these thousands of people that are losing their jobs. And some are never going to be able to find the jobs back because there aren't jobs like that. You got to be completely retrained into doing something else, which is hard to do at a certain age. So where are we going? Just like they did in parts of science fiction. They're going to be on the government dole.
God, I mean,
this AI is going to create a whole class of people that are going to be on government welfare, because we're not going to let the people starve to death.
No, you're right.
So you're going to give them a stipend, particularly if you put them out, because of technology.
Yeah.
I think that's going to happen. And so I don't know. I mean, it's just, we're not talking about the right stuff.
Yeah,
we're just not talking about the right stuff.
That's
the
agree.
whole point of jumping around.
No, but I agree with you. And sometimes I think it's a distraction. Sometimes I think that fact that we're not talking about what you're talking about is a distraction. I really don't care if Taylor and Kelsey, and I like Taylor. I don't care if they're kissing after the game or not much. That's their relationship.
But people need to do that so they don't go crazy.
Well,
it's why people used to read the funny papers.
Yeah, okay.
The section
fair.
of the newspaper that probably was the most popular was the comic section.
Right, and that is...
Because people need it. And people right now, New York Times, are they burning up the state section or the local section or the international news section? No, they're playing Wordle and all these puzzles.
It's a distraction. It's a distraction.
People have to escape. They don't want to deal with these issues.
Yeah, but somebody has to
deal with them.
You're right.
But somebody's got to. But most people don't want to deal with these issues. They say, I've had my time. I'm retired. I'm this. I'm that.
I'm going to live it out and be done.
And I don't disagree with that. But, man.
Well, of all my years, and I won't say how many there are, but there's a lot more than there were 20 or 30 years ago under my belt now. All the time that I've been around, and I've known you for 20 years, and we've talked almost every day for 20 years, which is crazy to think about it. I have never once from you or from anyone. And I just heard the best explanation of the death penalty I've ever heard in my life. I've never heard that from anyone. Not a father, a grandfather, a relative, or friend describing it like the rabid dog. And that to me is as simple as our border wall being a fence around your backyard. Same example. You want to keep stuff in or keep stuff out, you build a fence, right? And I'm not saying the wall is the secret or any of that, or the death penalty is the end all be all, because there are holes, so to speak, in all of those examples. But for now, it's the best choice we can make, right? Because we can't afford to house all these people. We've decided as a society the death penalty is something we're going to have in certain states. We've decided we're going to control our borders, or at this point, not control them. But at some point in history, we decided to control our borders. Now, all of a sudden, it doesn't matter.
But we don't, it's just that our leadership, the fact that I don't know. I mean, maybe if we could figure that out, we might be able to figure things out. But you look at the immigration policies of Europe. Europe often has things before we do.
Yeah, they're
Look
older,
at what immigration has done to Paris. Look what immigration has done to Sweden and some of these Scandinavian countries.
Yeah.
Because they were being big-hearted Eddie and letting everybody come in to do everything. And so they had all these Middle Eastern men. I don't know where they came from. There was a war, or they were pushed out or left, or whatever the reason is. But they settled in there. They didn't commingle with the population. They stayed in their own parts of town, not because they wanted to, just because they did. Mm-hmm. They felt comfortable being among their own people.
Sure, and you would,
and so that's where you have these big riots and this stuff like that. And we didn't learn anything. So in New York, you're concentrating the people up there, and I don't know what the circumstance was where they were beating up the cop, but these leaders in some of these places, these attorney generals, and Letitia James and this whatever the DA's name, Bragg, you got to really wonder a little bit about where'd they come from and what their motivations are behind some of this stuff. I don't know what it is, but again, if the New York people are fine with it, then I'm fine with it, I guess.
Boy,
because they seem to be. I don't see anybody trying to get them out of office. So I mean, if it's rotten to the core, it's rotten to the core,
man.
But a lot of these police officers, what you're going to do. A lot of police officers now in New York City are leaving. They've gone to South Carolina. They can go to Nashville. They can go to any number of places because they're paying them a bonus, and they're going to South Florida.
Yeah,
they're going everywhere that's cheaper than living in New York, and these people are treated better, and they're already kind of been through school, and their cop life is just going to be better than somewhere else.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
You're just going to learn that, and then all of a sudden you're going to have nobody that's going to want to police up there, and then you're really going to have a hell of a mess.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things to think about, Jimmy, and a lot of things to talk about. This is what our leadership should be talking about. In the meantime, next week we could talk about the Grammys. Next week we can, but this week the tough stuff, the Oscars, whatever it is, or
we don't even do
Taylor
things right.
Kelsey.
I mean, this is how screwed up. Margot Robbie, who was Barbie, didn't get a nomination for Best Actress.
She was great in that.
The director, Greta Gerwig, directed what has been a cultural earthquake of a film.
Yeah,
Barbie, that's made the bosses, grossed over $1.5 billion on this film.
Yeah.
So it gets these nominations. Ken gets a nomination. Barbie's buddy gets a nomination, but Barbie doesn't get a nomination.
I didn't know that.
The director doesn't get a nomination, but the film gets one for Best Picture. The film obviously directed itself, and I mean, it's just we can't even get that right these days. That's how screwed up stuff is.
That's how screwed
can't even get
up
the Oscars right.
Can't even get the Oscars.
Makes you want to holler, throw up both your hands.
God, isn't that true?
A recommendation: the greatest night in pop or something like that.
Oh yeah,
is on Netflix. It's the story of We Are the World. It's an hour and 37 minutes. It's a good documentary. It's fun to watch.
I've heard that from multiple people, so get out there and see it.
On Netflix, I watched Chinatown.
Yeah.
I had never seen it, I'm so embarrassed to say.
Is it
with Jack Nicholson and Faye Dunaway?
Oh, great movie.
John Huston.
Yeah, great movie.
It's a film noir, crime drama.
Yeah,
and it's dated, but it's, boy, to see Jack Nicholson and Faye Dunaway that young in there, that was cool. The Masters of the Air, episode 4 will be February the 2nd.
Okay.
I can't wait. It's really good.
Okay, I'll start it.
But I'm spoiled. I want to watch all these things at one time. I want to binge. I don't want to wait
Yeah.
a week for the stories.
Let me tell you something. You're right about that, because this is what's happened to me with Yellowstone. I don't care now about Yellowstone. I loved it when it was on.
Lost.
I'm done with
Right.
it. It's been too long. I don't care. You got to follow these up quicker than, I mean,
I did Suits over I didn't do anything but Suits
yeah.
for like 3 weeks, maybe more, maybe a month.
Yeah.
And that was perfectly fine with me.
Yeah.
I just lived in that show, knocking them down.
Yeah.
All 8 seasons.
And then you can move on to the next one.
And then I'll move on to the next
Yeah,
one.
I agree. They got to be quicker with that. And Apple, which I love Apple, they put out some good stuff, but it's so few and far between that it makes me
I know.
wonder.
Well, they're building up a pretty good repertoire now.
Yeah.
If you've not been on them, if you've not been with them at all, that was good. They got Ted Lasso now,
Which
and
is
they've got
great. It's
Masters of the Air. They've got the morning show.
Yep.
They've got Monarch, which I'm a third of the way through that. I think this is Kurt Russell in a monster movie.
Yeah, I'm
and there
not
may
sure
be,
about that.
and then also For All Mankind, I think's the name of it.
Yeah, you like that
is
one.
this strange space thing that you have to watch from season 1. And so they're building a pretty good catalog in there now.
What's the scientist, the female scientist? God, it's on Apple too. You got to watch that. It's really good. It takes place in the 50s. It's in the 50s. I'll have to think of it next time we talk. I'll have the name of it for you, but it's on Apple too. But yeah, there's some good stuff out there. I'm glad you recommended Masters of the Air, because I haven't watched the trailer, but it looks like
Masters of the Air. But I want to, they put 2 out the first week, 1 out the next. But I know what they're doing, because they don't want you to binge it and then churn and cut Apple TV off. They want to stick you, for a long time.
Lessons in Chemistry.
I've seen that lady.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it was.
Yeah, Lessons in Chemistry.
Is it a drama, comedy? What is it?
Yeah, it's a drama. I mean, it's a woman's rights kind of angle on the 50s, and a little bit of African American rights during that time too, and a little, like your dad was involved in with, Martin Luther King and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, it's a little bit of that era. But it's really, really good, and how a woman isn't given the time of day but she makes a name for herself and does some really great things. So if you haven't seen Lessons in Chemistry, that's a good one too. And until next week, when we do this all again, I'm Derik Walker. He is
Jimmy Carter.
Good day.
Good day.